Hi everyone, this is Joseph. I'm here in Los Angeles and we're going to talk about immigration today. And there's two things I want to specifically talk about. It's the new $1 million green card, the Trump card, and also everything's been talking about the H-1B, the new 100,000 H-1B. And there's so much misinformation and things that people don't talk about with good intention, that's fine. But because we do so many of these cases, I want to talk about the nuances of it very specifically. And then we're going to talk about a success story that we've done. It just got approved 10 days ago. It was a waiver for fraud and misrepresentation. So how did that case get approved? What was their circumstance? How did USCIS approve it and the consulate approve it? And now the clients are able to finally be reunited in the US. What happened? I'm going to go through everything. And if you guys have any questions about immigration, about your case specifically, feel free to ask questions. We're here live on TikTok. We're here live on YouTube as well as Instagram. So if you are watching from anywhere, hi, and we'll get right into it. Okay. So the first thing is let's talk about the gold card first. The White House has announced that you can now buy a green card, but I want to be very specific about the buying part because it is not a contractual relationship. You are gifting $1 million to the US government in order to be in line to apply for a green card. Okay? That is the very thing that most people are not talking about and not understand. Like, why would I gift $1 million just to wait in line to apply for a green card? Because the caveat is your green card can still be denied even after you gift this $1 million. It is not a contractual exchange. Many countries around the world have these citizenship, buying status programs. We could create a list. You could go watch it later on. But yeah, you spend a couple $100,000. You could buy real estate. You could buy something in that country, and you could get directly citizenship. You could directly get a passport. We've seen tons of these happen from Grenada to Turkey to lots of other countries. The United States, now the very first time, is creating its own pay-to-play program. But the caveat is you don't get citizenship. You don't even get a green card. You get the opportunity to buy a green card, to apply for a green card. And the way it is entirely orchestrated, and we'll go through the reasons behind why, the way they're doing it is by saying if you can gift $1 million to the US government, then of course you must be an extraordinary individual. Of course you must be of national importance, and you receive a national interest waiver. So that's the EB1 and EB2 category. This is not the EB5 traditional investment program, which we'll talk about later. This is now moving somebody who is now gifting the money to the US government, and the US government says, okay, well, since you have demonstrated you are wealthy and you've gifted us, we will consider you of like national importance. So we'll qualify you under like the Einstein Green Card program, which we do a lot of. So most people who don't understand the EB1 or the EB2 and IW type cases is essentially you show your resume, you show your LinkedIn profile, you show how extraordinary you are, and the government accepts that resume, they give you a green card. Sounds amazing. We do tons of videos. You can watch it out. There's dumpling chefs that we've gotten green cards through this programs as well. You show you are better than your peers in your industry, and you get a green card. Now, within that law, there is something called the comparable evidence, which means show us anything to show that you are better than the rest. And if we can accept this comparable evidence, then you are of great importance, and so we'll give you the EB1A green card. So essentially what this administration is doing is saying, hey, if you are wealthy, you must be extraordinary. That is exactly the logic behind this program. And so when you qualify for that, then you can directly jump the line and be able to apply for a green card. But again, it just means your maybe application can get approved to qualify to apply for a green card later. I see some questions. I'll answer questions first, and then I'll jump into the next story.
Any update on 100,000, the H-1B 100,000 exemption for physicians?
I don't have updates on that, but we will jump into that story shortly.
I came here legally, been a permanent resident since 2010. I'm on probation for CPS. I pleaded guilty for a charge I didn't commit. Can I apply for citizenship if on probation?
Our firm don't recommend anybody applying for citizenship while you're still on probation. We've just seen too many cases get denied without adverse consequences, as in, maybe you just have to repay the application fee and reapply again later on after the probation is done. But we've just seen too many good, well-intentioned, well-positioned cases. They have good moral character on every front. It's just that their probation is not over yet. The officer says, sorry, we just have to deny you. Or they hold the case and say, we'll give you another interview notice in about 6 months when the probation is over, and then you come back. Why that is the case, maybe it's just easier for these officers to adjudicate cases. Maybe there's an internal memo somewhere where they say, hey, just wait for the probation period to be over. That way they've already paid the consequences of their crime, right? They are not judges in a state law courtroom nor a federal law courtroom, so they don't know exactly the ins and outs. So it's just easier for them to draw that bright line, But again, that's just from anecdotal and personal experience. So I would totally recommend wait until the probation is over before you apply.
My 751 was approved based on extreme cruelty. Can I naturalize in 3 years or 5 years? I was married to a U.S. citizen.
5 years. Since the day you got your first conditional green card. Now, if you get married to another U.S. citizen, that's a different story.
I applied for asylum, married a green card holder. Can she get me a green card?
Yes, slightly complicated. She needs to petition for you. You have to wait for the priority date. Assuming there's none, you can file adjustment status. You have to close out your asylum case and then transfer it over. Because you have an asylum case prior, then in the marriage-based application, the standard of proof is much higher. So you have to prove it's not just the normal preponderance of evidence. You have to prove clear and convincing because of the asylum application. So you need to do a much better case. So if the case itself is weak, I wouldn't necessarily go through all of that immediately, because then you'll be in a worse situation where you close your asylum case and your 45 I-130 gets denied because of the higher bar. So you definitely want to maybe even draw out your asylum case potentially and then build up your new marriage case so that it's much stronger before you execute. So lots of little details to kind of figure out, but the short answer is yes.
I got denied for a J1 waiver, and now I'm just lost and confused. My home country approved, but DOS denied it.
I would say try again, maybe. People deny all the time. Don't take no for an answer. You say, we tried our best, but now we have some more additional evidence. Please see if we can get that approval.
Mm-hmm. And it probably depends on why they got denied, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Will the 100,000 H-1B fee apply to cap-exempt university H-1Bs?
We are still waiting for all the details on it. My hope is that it will. My hope is that the 100,000 fee only applies to foreign educated individuals who are coming to the US for the very first time, first application. So if you already received it in the United States, when you're going abroad, visa doesn't apply to you. If you're US educated, US institution, hopefully it doesn't apply to you. If you're a nonprofit, hopefully it doesn't apply to you. So I'm hoping there's going to be a list of exceptions, but we'll see in the next 90 days.
I was born and raised in Saudi Arabia, but I'm an Indian citizen. I got my master's. Can I apply for EB3?
Run the question with me again.
Born in Saudi Arabia.
Okay.
Indian citizen.
Okay.
Have master's degree.
Okay.
Can I apply for EB3?
Nothing tells me you can't, right? So where you're born, what citizenship you have doesn't apply. Having a master's degree, great. Even if you only have a bachelor's degree, if you have the requisite work experience, you could even apply for EB2 or EB2 and IW. So yeah, nothing you said disqualifies you from EB3 or EB2 or EB2 and IW or EB1A, right?
Can a U.S. citizen child file for his father with a pending VAWA case?
Yes, you can have multiple applications filed for you all at the same time, should you want. So if the father is on a VAWA case, but if the child has already gotten eligible to petition for you, then they could file that way. If you have an employer that wants to petition I-140 for you, they could also do that. There are multiple ways that you can try to get a green card at the same time.
How long after I'm off probation should I wait to apply for citizenship? Is it just like day after, or?
Yeah, we usually do day after. So while you're on probation, you can prepare a really strong case, right? So don't start preparing, right? Don't wait to prepare, right? So do your good moral character analysis, do your good moral character case brief, talk about your ties to the US, talk about your contributions, your taxes, your community, do all of that. And then the moment probation is over, get the court transcript, certify it, and then the next day you can file.
So I want to adopt an undocumented child. Regular adoption attorneys can't help. Immigration attorneys seem not to be able to help, at least with the adoption part. Why can't I just adopt the child if his parents are giving me approval?
There's lots of reasons. We did a lot of these in the past, so I could share that with you. One, the US laws wants to prevent child trafficking, right? So the whole Hague Convention is really set up to prevent child trafficking from around the world, and a lot of that happens. You can feed and care and love a child, no one's going to stop you. But when you formally adopt a child in state court, then you suddenly get legal responsibility and legal rights for that child. And then when you want to petition them to help them get a green card, then again, you're passing on your status to the child, so the child could get legal status in the US. So that becomes another different issue, right? And so if the parent wants you to care for the child, that's contractual between you and the parent, that's fine. But if you want to receive government benefits from the state through a formal state department, state court, then obviously an adoption court needs to be able to prove that. And if you want the child from go from undocumented to documented, you need to go through the immigration court, which immigration USCIS processing, which requires a state court adoption. But just so you know, adoption attorneys can help you with the adoption, and then once you're adopted, potentially immigration lawyers can help you with the immigration petition. So it is possible.
And would the undocumented child be able to fly back to their home country without being detained?
Once they get the green card, then they can fly. It's not like asylum where you're renouncing, your country, you're proving that you've been persecuted or whatnot, right? So a lot of times adoption happens because they lost contact with the parents, or the parents are forfeiting their right to be a citizen, forfeiting their right to be a parent, right? And so, once they get adopted, once they get the green card, they could still go visit their parents, but it doesn't mean they can't fly.
So my B1 visa was denied. My SB1 visa, excuse me, was denied. Should I reapply if I already have a B1, B2?
SB1 denials are very common. It's very rare to get them approved. Once SB1 is denied, if you have your B1, D2, congratulations, at least you're able to still fly to the US. But if you want to save your green card, if you want to be able to come back into the country as a green card holder, you can explore going through CBP, right? And so we made probably over 80 videos on our YouTube channel talking about how to present your case, all the 140 plus reasons to prove you did not abandon your green card. So we've done plenty of cases where SB1 was denied 3 times, but then the customs officer approved it and they were able to basically get their green card back. So don't lose hope. It's still possible based on your facts.
And then as someone who graduated college in Europe, what would be a realistic pathway to live in the US with the new guidelines in place?
In Europe, depending on what country of citizenship you have, so it doesn't matter where you're born, right? Somebody can have multiple citizenship. One of the best visa categories in all of US immigration history is the E2. So look into that category. We know plenty of people who prefer the E2 even above a green card, because there's no worldwide taxation. So if you're educated abroad, you have the skills, you have the insights, you have the investment, you have the ability to create value in the US, you could potentially do an E2. And if you are educated in Europe, assuming you have a particular nationality in Europe, it's probably a key partner of the US, then you can execute your E2 plan.
Is there any update on a possible lawsuit against the H-1B fee?
There will likely be a lawsuit just because we see that happen all the time. It would be initially a temporary restraining order, so probably